And welcome to Hero Power. This is episode 89, and I am your host, Avantes. As always, I am joined by my co-host, Zeroshio.
What is up?
And our very special guest filling in for the vacationing Virsica, RidiculousHat. What is up, buddy?
Hey, everybody. Picked a good week to guest in the podcast. There's some stuff that happened today.
Yeah, just a little bit. We'll touch on it here in just a second. We've got a great show, as Hat alluded to. We've got a couple of listener emails we're going to get to real quick. But before that, Zeroshio, tell us a little bit about our friends at Viforce.
We talk every week about Viforce gaming and how they make wonderful machines. I'm going to be taking my Viforce machine to DreamHack Atlanta next weekend. If you happen to be down there, come by and check out my machine. I'll be on the end of the BYOC area, so you should be able to see it from the aisle. But yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that in the second half of the show. But check them out at ViforceGaming.com, or of course you can go to HeroPowerHS.com and click on the Viforce link.
Absolutely. All right. So our first email of the night comes from Dave K, and it says, "Guys, Knights of the Frozen Throne." Okay, so I want to start with the salt shaker in the room. Can we talk a minute about Virsica, the prediction god? What this is, his third or fourth expansion adventure prediction that has come true. Not just, but he called out a Lich King based expansion, Ice Crown, and much like his Kel'Thuzad prediction, gave us a detail on top of the guess. And what? He's 3 for 3 or 4 for 4 on Choose Your Champion. After the said announcement, I begin to wonder, is Virsica an agent of Blizzard, here to lull our aggro-hungry minds into a false sense of security as he predicts event after event, all in the name of winning our trust and luring us to the dark side of control? Then I thought better, because Avantes is clearly the Blizzard golden boy, and luring us to control is just too far-fetched. Then I began to wonder if Avantes was sent to keep an eye on Virsica, because he clearly has psychic powers. I dismissed that, though, because let's face it, no one is psychic. Then I got hungry, and as I was watching my pizza spin in the microwave, I decided on the obvious reason for Virsica always knowing before the rest of us. He's clearly an alien. I mean, who else makes the prediction of the year so far and just drops the mic and says, "Peace, I did my job, you guys sort out the rest," picks up his flip-flops and flies to the beach? Who does that? Well, Virsica does. Come next expansion, you guys better hide Virsica in the weeks leading up to the prediction, because Blizzard's likely to send a squad of G-men in a tricked-out black SUV to headbag him and take him somewhere secret. He'll probably end up in Blizzard jail with Toast. But I promised to get him blitzed and record the entire thing after he won let's see, I lost my place. On a side note, can I have him for a small weekend trip to Vegas? Sorry, probably not. Even though you promised to get him blitzed and record the entire thing. We appreciate it. In all seriousness, I can't believe you guys did it again. You were once again the first podcast I heard that got anywhere close to being that right that early. I honestly think you guys are the best podcast in the biz, and I'm half tempted to go to DreamHack just so I can meet up with you and buy you a drink. When I started listening to your show, I was lucky to get my card back each month. Now I routinely get rank 5 or above. It has all been from watching your show. You've taught me so much about Hearthstone. I can't watch your show live because of work, but one of the first things I do Thursday morning when I wake up is look to see if your show has downloaded. You guys have taught me so much, and honestly, I can't thank you enough for keeping me wanting to play more Hearthstone. Side thought, just curious, what is your win-loss record on the show? Any idea? Because I can't think of but a couple of times you've lost the night. You're coming up on episode 90, and I would wager you've lost fewer than 15 nights. If that's the case, your win ratio is like 75%, and I would like to say that's in the low range for sure. Like I said, just curious. Anywho, thanks for all the great shows and keeping us wanting more. Thank you, Dave. Honestly, I don't know what our win-loss record is, but I've talked to Virsica, and we're going to figure it out.
get those numbers for you.
We'll get those numbers for you as we get a little closer to episode 100. It might be an episode 100 reveal on what our total win-loss record is for 100 episodes. All right.
You want me to read this next one?
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. This next one is from Scott. And these are a little long-winded, but we're going to try to get through them quick. Good afternoon, gentlemen. I'm going to start my email with a story. This past January, I am sitting in an airport in Key West, Florida, and I'm standing in line to pay for my drinks, playing a little Hearthstone. I pull up the concede menu, and I hear someone behind me say, "Wait, don't concede. Just pass the turn. He doesn't have it." I turn to find a man with a handful of drinks standing behind me with a big smile on his face. "Trust me," he said. So I passed the turn, and my opponent conceded almost immediately. I looked at him in amazement. I don't even remember the board state, but I was certain I had lost to my opponent was just being a jerk and stretching the game out. I exited the game and asked him, How did you know? He simply handed a business card, grinned this cheesy grin, and said, "It's my job to know. This is how I met Virsica." Sure, we talked some more Hearthstone, but we'll get back to that in just a minute because it's spooky. It's been almost 6 months, and I haven't missed a single episode since downloading the first episode for the flight home that day. I find it ironic that I am sitting in Knoxville today waiting on a flight home while Virsica is vacationing at the beach in my home state. On to two real points of my email. The conversation I had with Virsica in the Key West airport revolved around the changes to Hearthstone and what the future held. We were talking about the state of the meta. We also talked about construction vehicles, flinging rocks, and people throwing cigarette butts out the window. He is surprisingly passionate about that, but that story is for another time. What we thought Blizzard would do about it. He was very knowledgeable and had the infectious, easygoing attitude with the intense edge that just kind of seemed to hide under the calm exterior. Scroll down here just a second so I can read this better. I lost my place now. Okay. We talked at length about what I felt was every aspect of Hearthstone. I heard pieces of that conversation last night, only they were having it during the new set reveal. I listened with chills as they described what Virsica said. He thought they would do this year, and I was back in Key West again, sitting in that airport, and it was like a weird deja vu. Lich King, Ice Crown Citadel, Return Focus on Death Rattle, it was all there. Then I listened to this past week's episode, and the only way I can describe it is the feeling is spooky. What brings me to my subject of this email effort and why Virsica doesn't seem to put anything into playing Hearthstone. I have been listening and watching the show for half a year now. Every time a watch and learn quest, I see if Virsica is online. Within the first meeting, I am continually amazed with his ability to see lines where I don't. Sometimes I see him make what I think was a mistake, only to find out 3 turns later that it was all part of a plan that neither I or his opponent saw coming. With what is his second eerily accurate prediction of upcoming content and his ability to see the lines through other people's just can't or don't, it kills me that he doesn't take advantage of his talent and take it seriously. I rarely see him playing meta decks, but I also don't see him lose often. Don't get me wrong, I am a fan, and in talking with him, I left conversation feeling like I had just talked to a long lost friend, my dad, and my CO, all at the same time. Something I think is apparent all of you, and that is what makes your show both unique and endearing. Zoroshio is serious and has gotten legend and competes in tournaments, but I never hear Virsica talk about wanting to do anything like that. So I ask again, why doesn't Virsica take Hearthstone seriously? He obviously has a mind for the game, but it's like he just doesn't care, and it drives me crazy sometimes. Enough ranting. You guys have a great show, and I thought I would write in and pick on Virsica just since he can't defend himself with a 30-minute diatribe. Thanks, Scott.
So, Scott, again, thank you for the email. I love the story about you meeting him in the airport. That was fabulous. I want to talk a little bit about why you never see Virsica playing meta decks. And that's because Virsica vehemently dislikes net decking. Virsica is a brewmaster at heart. He loves the deck building aspect of Hearthstone probably more than the game itself. And he loves to get in there. And that's why we call him our mad scientist, because he will take a deck and he will break it apart and take cards out and add cards in that people might not think about, just to, because he, like you say, he sees a line that some people don't. And that's why you don't see him playing a lot of standard meta decks, is because he's building these decks and mixing these decks up from scratch. That's his gift. That's what he loves to do. And he's very busy. He doesn't have a lot of time each month to put into Hearthstone. So that's why you don't see him pushing for Legend. So, but thank you again for the email. And then after the finals of the Summer Championship on Sunday, we got a follow-up email from Dave K that says, not only did he pick the winner, he picked the freaking runner-up as well. Clearly, Virsica is an alien. In case you're keeping count, that's 5 straight champs he has picked. Pass the salt. Just have him go buy a lottery ticket and you guys won't have to worry about patrons or sponsors ever again. I wouldn't think bad things around Virsica because he probably can read your mind. Signed, not psychic or alien, Dave K. P.S. I knew better than to pick my champion before I heard what Virsica's pick was, but I did it anyway. My own darn fault. I will open my pack and get salty just like everyone else. So, thank you for the follow-up email, Dave. You're right. He did. He picked the champion on his EU account and the runner-up on his NA account. So,
and on his when he was talking about his EU account, he mentioned he believed that Kalento would lose to Hoy. So it's amazing. I know those were long emails, but we just felt like they had to be read in their entirety because they just had so much passion.
Yeah. All right, guys. So we've got news to talk about. Apparently, this thing happened about an hour ago. Zeroshio, you want to tell us what this thing was?
Breaking news: the patch that contained the nerfs and a few other things just went live today. Like, I think I noticed it an hour and a half ago.
Yeah.
Basically, the big thing is the Caverns Below nerf is now live.
Now it takes 5. Hat, what are your thoughts on this?
It only changes a lot, so, not a huge deal except for all the other stuff. And there was a lot that went into these patch notes as well. They mentioned a few small things that I think is important to mention before we talk about the big thing. They made about 5 different cards elementals that weren't elementals before. I think the most important is either Halazeal or Jade Spirit.
Can we talk about that for a quick second?
Absolutely.
I think that's important. Yeah.
While that's kind of like a small piece, let's talk about the 5 cards. They got Jade Spirit, Jinny of Zephyrs, Flame of Azeroth, Mana Geode, and Halazeal the Ascendant. Now the two big ones. Mana Geode was the one that was called out, and Ben Brode said, "Oh, we're going to make that change here in the future with a few others." He didn't say anything else. Halazeal can now be found in your elemental decks, and furthermore, Jade Spirit not only can be found in your elemental decks, but now you can likely run a combo Jade elemental deck without watering down your deck.
Yeah.
That's going to be so broken because the big limiting factor of Jade Shaman is that Jade Druid does it better because they can repeatedly do more and more and more Jades, where Shaman's limited to the number of Jade cards they can fit in their deck. Now, if you fill in some of your other swing cards in your Jade Shaman, you put in elementals, and you can find these elementals, find these Jade Spirits to then ramp up to even more Jade Spirits. I'm excited for this change.
Well, and you can also discover now off your Servant of Kalamos and Shaman. It's kind of the best of both worlds because you either get to discover Halaziel or you get to discover Jade Spirit. And you know what? If I don't get a Jade Spirit because I got a Halaziel, that's fine. That's
right.
So I'll discover the other 5 mana 4/6, and then you're already playing a bunch of AoE, right? You're probably playing Volcano. You're definitely playing Lightning Storm and Maelstrom Portal. Mm-hmm. And it might be the point where spell damage boosting is relevant enough. Probably not, because Spirit Claws is still 2 mana instead of 1, but it creates a lot of redundancy in the deck that didn't necessarily have it before, and it allows you to kind of shift the curve a little bit because you're more likely to get a higher quality card. Though I will say that in Jade Druid, there are no Druid class elementals. So the chances of your Servant of Kalamos, if you play it with, say, Tar Creeper and Jade Spirit, the chance of seeing another Jade Spirit is pretty high. So if that's a payoff that you want to have, that might be worth it.
Yeah, so I've got a question. With this nerf to Caverns Below, and I'm actually getting this question from a friend of ours who's actually hanging out with chat right now, Mike Lowe. He asked on Twitter, has anybody thought about how this change will affect something like the Priest Quest? Could we see more viability in the Priest Quest now with this change to the Rogue Quest? Would it be worth crafting that now? Hat, what are your thoughts?
The Priest Quest? I wouldn't craft anything right now because we're gonna get a new set in 4 to 6 weeks. I would try new things. I would consider experimenting, though Turtools raised a good question in the chat. We don't know if Quest Rogue is dead yet either. Because the number of times that the quest has gone off and then they've killed me with the Stone Tusk Boar and 2 bounces, if they draw 6 bounces and they use 5 of them to get the quest instead of 4, that deck's still powerful. And a lot of the decks from HCT this past weekend ran Swashbuckler over Stone Tusk Boar. There might already be a shell where Quest Rogue is still successful enough to try. And with the new expansion, 30 to 45 days away from now, we don't know the exact date. I don't know if I'd spend dust or gold on anything. I would experiment with this new meta, but we're way too early to see how things are going to shake out. They're going to be an initial reaction of people playing a lot of greedy control decks and Jade Druid, but we have to see how the meta settles because it's still going to be cyclical.
Okay. Zeratio, anything you want to add?
I think if you like to favor slower decks, the nerf to Caverns Below is definitely, and if you don't know the nerf, they're changing the requirement to playing the same minion 4 times to changing it to play the same minion 5 times. And again, that's play, not summon. I think you're going to have people playing slower decks because they have more time now. Now, this doesn't change anything to the rest of the meta where you have fast decks like Aggro Druid and Aggro Shaman out there. But you're not going to be so worried about a turn 4 kill from just lucky bounces. It's probably going to be more like turn 6, which is more realistic for an aggro-based meta.
Okay. All right. So, any other major changes with this patch that you guys saw? I know there were some arena changes that came down with this, right?
A lot of arena changes. And we'll leave the link in the patch notes, but a lot of cards are going to be unavailable in Arena. Different quests and just some weaker minions that really don't feel good to get out of your Arena drafts. A few of them are Flame Strike, Abyssal Enforcer, and Vicious Fledgling will appear in draft 50% less often. Really, it looks like they're just kind of balancing things out, and they have more changes according to this to help balance out the impact in Arena.
Yeah, they didn't specify it. The cards that were unavailable, it's a lot of what makes this post interesting is that the top 6 or 7 bullet points here where they talked about class card appearance rates and weapon appearance rates, that was never public information before this patch. So a lot of this was already happening. The cards that are unavailable in Arena, if you read it, it's the quest, the Cthulhu cards, and the cards they balanced when they first redid the Arena balance. Mm-hmm. But they did drop Vicious Fledgling's drop rate by 50%, so it joins Flame Strike and Abyssal Enforcer, which were both pretty dominant cards. And then they made everything public. And so making everything public makes this really interesting. I think this data will allow arena specialists to crunch the numbers a little bit more, other than just empirical evidence, what they see. This is more about, this is what happens right now, and you can make decisions based on this, which I really like. I think more transparency is always a good thing.
Oh, yeah.
One thing that sticks out here to me, besides obviously the arena changes, is they're obviously made the changes to Caverns Below, but they says here the Caverns Below can now be disenchanted for full arcane dust value until July 24th. Now, July 24th also is the day they are going to start revealing cards from the new set, Knights of the Frozen Throne. So, what do you think of that? Does that tell us something about the reveal? Do you think they're going to start revealing cards that they believe might impact or maybe make Caverns Below still playable with the nerf?
I mean, it's exactly 2 weeks from today. I think it's just coincidental.
Okay.
Yeah. I kind of agree. I think, now, yes, I agree it's probably coincidental, but that is the day we're going to start seeing new cards from the set. So, I don't know. It's also the day I'm supposed to close on my house, so I probably won't find out anyway.
Yeah.
Which is, interestingly enough, a Monday.
It is.
Yeah.
And not a Tuesday. That's why I think it's kind of weird they would have that happen on a Monday instead of a Tuesday. But we'll see.
Yeah. Speaking of, we have the name of the new set. So, they last Thursday night they released at the start of the HCT event. They released a video, Knights of the Frozen Throne, as we talked about in the email. We now know it is going. As the emails made appropriate clear, Virsica called it is going to be a Frozen Throne style expansion. But we've got some really cool new effects, new abilities, life steal. So this is something we had on Wicker Flame Burn Bristle previously. Whenever the minion deals damage, gain health to your hero. But now it's more widespread. It's going to be on a lot more minions. We're going to see it on other cards. One of which they showed us a priest spell called Spirit Lash. 2 mana, life steal, deal 1 damage to all minions. What is your overall take on the life steal abilities, Orochio?
I think it's really going to balance out the speed of the meta. I don't want to say slow down so much because I think you're going to have lifesteal across the board in all classes. So while it's not really going to slow the meta, it's going to kind of put everybody at an even keel. Some decks that can't exist because there's no healing in them, like a slower kind of a control warlock, various forms of hunter. They're going to kind of come up in the ranks a little bit, and then other classes that already have healing, they'll just supplement it. So I think it's going to balance the meta quite a bit and put aggro in check, but at the same time not allow control to overrun the meta. You're going to have more of a mid-range meta again, and I really am going to enjoy that.
Okay, Hat, any thoughts on the ability?
I mean, we've seen the ability before. I like that they're retemplating both Wicker Flame and Mistress of Pain. It really depends on the quality of card more than anything else. The one they revealed so far, the Chillblade Champion, it's hard to evaluate the set based on that because that card is going to be worse than True Silver Champion in almost every situation. I am certain there are lifesteal cards that are going to be interesting. We haven't seen them yet, and I'm curious about... Oh, and Chillblade Champion for audio listeners, it's a 4-mana, 3/2 Paladin class card. It's got Charge and Lifesteal. So the first time you play, it's going to attack, it's going to gain you 3. And then if they trade with it, it'll gain you another 3. But it's a 3/2, so it's pretty vulnerable. I'm curious to see what the Rogue option is. Really want to see what Rogue looks like, because Rogue hasn't had life gain. I'm curious on Hunter. All the classes that don't normally get this kind of life gain stuff, and Mage as well, I'd love to see what that looks like and how they make it fit the class identity as well as augment existing class or maybe change class archetypes. But the mechanic itself doesn't interest me. How they use it is what I'm curious about.
They did make a clarification, though, that they're going to be making a change to the Akanai Soul Priest effect, which I assume Embrace the Shadows is going to get the same treatment. that for a minion that has lifesteal, it's only going to hurt you once. Where in the past, with I think it was Mistress of Pain, if you happen to get a Mistress of Pain out and you had Knock an Eye out, you're dead because it does damage, heals you, which becomes damage, which heals you, then heals you, and heals you, and heals you until you're 0 health. That's no longer going to happen. It's only going to do it one time.
Okay. So the other big announcement they made with this set is the introduction of basically Death Stalkers or Death Knights. It's going to be a new hero class, which I'm guessing is going to probably be another legendary card we're going to have to craft, sort of like the quests were. And the one they revealed was Deathstalker Rexar. He's a 6 mana, 5 armor, battle cry, deal 2 damage to all enemy heroes. When he comes into play, when you play this card, it replaces your hero and your hero power. So Rexar becomes Deathstalker Rexar, and his hero power is build a Zombeast. So it's 2 mana, discover a minion, click it, discover another minion, and you're basically stitching them together to create a Zombeast that you then will go into your hand and allow you to play it. This really opens up, I feel like, some interesting options. I saw somebody on Twitter earlier said combining Knuckles with Angry Chicken is going to be really interesting.
I don't think you can do Knuckles, though, because isn't he 7 mana?
He shows up in the Zombeast test builder on Hearthstone or wherever.
Yeah, he costs 5.
Oh,
He's
is he 5?
Okay.
3/7,
yeah.
3/7, that's why I'm getting 7. Yeah. It's his health. Okay.
So,
that would be interesting. Yeah. Now, just to clarify on this, these type of cards, there's going to be 1 per class, and they are a new card type. So you're going to have minions, spells, weapons, and then this new card type is a hero card. And basically, it's a card that replaces your hero. Obviously, if you have an alternate portrait, it will replace them with the regular. So if you're using Morgul, you'll get the Death Knight version of Thrall, which has burned a few people, but that's I think it's okay. I would love to see a Death Knight Morgul. That would make me super happy. But to clarify on the zombie stability is you will have your first choice will have a beast that has some form of text in the box, a complicated ability. Then your second choice is going to be a vanilla beast or a single keyword beast, like taunt, poisonous. They could have 2 keywords, but they're just nothing that has a full description. And both choices will not be more than 5 mana, so that your beast is not larger than 10, because it combines the mana cost, the health, and the attack all into one beast.
Go ahead, Hat. You look like you want to say something.
I'm responding in chat to an excellent question. Is Jaraxxus a hero card? And the answer here is that Jaraxxus will function a little differently. First of all, Jaraxxus is a hero by himself, but he's not a hero card. It's going to correlate to one of the 9 original heroes for the classes. And Jaraxxus is clearly the template for this, but Jaraxxus replaces your health. The way the heroes work is they augment your health with the armor. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, and they do have battle cries. They are similar in function, but not quite the same.
Yeah, where Jaraxxus has a unique kind of effect that he's a minion, so that if he's pulled out of your hand in any way or summoned in any way, you still keep him on the board as a 3/15. Where in the case of these hero cards, they're not minions at all, so you won't be able to find them with minion effects or pull them out of anybody's hand with an ability that pulls minion like a dirty rat. But you would be able to find them with cards like Thought Steal or what's the 1 mana one Mind Vision.
I think you can swashbuckle them,
or
you can or Undercity Huckster them. These aren't like the quests. They don't have any non-occurrence rates that we know of. Yes. At least nothing that's been published yet, because these are all spells. You can cast them, right? They're
not spells.
Well,
they're something totally different. It's
right,
now a new type of card. So you're not going to find them with any spell hunting or minion hunting or discover effects that way. But if you have something that discovers a card out of your opponent's deck, that it still is a card.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool. So, that's what we know so far about Knights of the Frozen Throne. As Zeroshio alluded earlier, there's way more to come. They're going to start giving us daily, probably, card announcements starting on July the 24th. So, 2 weeks from today. Get ready. All the information you can handle coming at you. So, that brings us to our next topic. As I mentioned earlier, this past weekend was the HCT Summer Championships. We got to see some of the best in the world go at it in Shanghai. Our final four who are making it and advancing to the World Championship, which I guess is going to be next year in March, probably. In the past, they've always done it at BlizzCon, but this year they're not. They're coinciding it with the new change of the season. So the four advancing on are Ant, Nyria, Kalento, and Hoy. There was some great Hearthstone played this weekend. Let me tell you,
oh my God,
the match between Kalento and RDU in the round of 16 was worth watching if you don't watch anything else. They went all the way to game 5, down to the last card draw. It was amazing. Great game. But our finals came down to Hoy versus Kalento.
Or, as the Chinese call him, Godlento.
Well, as Ali calls him, K-God.
K-God, that's right.
Did you guys watch any of it? Because it was funny because...
Oh, my gosh.
Frodan was talking about... He was just like, so they keep saying K-God says, but they're not actually repeating what Kalento is saying. They're adding their own flourish to it.
They're dramatizing it a bit. I know at one point the translator said, K-God says, it was easy, and he said it in English. And you kind of see Kalento look over like, I didn't say that.
Yeah. So it was a lot of fun to watch. VODs are up on the @Play Hearthstone channel. Did you guys watch any of it this weekend, Zeroshio?
Yeah, I mean, I watched all the way up. First, I have to say it was brilliant doing the reveal right before the Shanghai event, because I don't know about you guys, but I stayed up till like 2:30 in the morning watching it. I watched it all the way up till the final four were decided. Then I watched the rest on the VOD the next day. That was brilliant to get us Americans to stay up that late. But Hoy ends up defeating Kalento, like you said, 3-0. And the Hoy went through the elimination rounds, the final 8, 9-1 in his match records. That's amazing. And there was so much passion in Hoy's face. You could tell. I know when he qualified for Shanghai, he burst into tears. It's very, very, very emotional for him. And it's really neat to see Hoy at this stage and still be innocent and really humbled by being there and all the other players he's played against. He doesn't feel as if he's owed anything. I did see a couple of the competitors kind of looked as if they felt like they should have won just on their merit, and they didn't perform. And Hoy didn't feel that way, and Hoy didn't go into the elimination rounds undefeated. He was 2-1 going into the elimination rounds, but then he just turned up the heat and just dominated.
Yeah. Hat, what were your thoughts on it?
I love seeing that the top 4 people in this tournament are 4 long-term, year-long playing, established names. It takes practice and experience to be good at Hearthstone, and all of these guys have had rank 1 ladder finishes. All of them have been playing since the beginning. All of them have multiple tournament finishes. If you want proof that Hearthstone is a skill game, look no further than this top 4. And if you want to see skill in action, I was not as smart as Zeroshio. I stayed up to watch the Final Four, and I'm on the East Coast, and it was a dumb decision. But I couldn't really resist watching because the Hearthstone was just so good, and Nyria versus Kalento was an unbelievable match to watch. went
Oh,
all
yeah.
5 games, and Nyria specifically said, when I was playing in the Bahamas, I wasn't practicing enough. And he made it to, I think, the round of 16, but didn't make it any further, or maybe the group stages. But he said, I'm practicing. I'm practicing 5 or 6 hours a day now. I'm watching Hearthstone. I am not playing other games anywhere near as much. He said, I'm committed to this. He wanted to get better. He got better. He's going to Shanghai, and this is Nyria's second nice finish in both tournaments this year. One of them he made top 16. This one he made top 4. And he was playing exceptional Hearthstone. There were a lot of really, really strong play. And from all 4 of these fellows, Hoy won a tournament earlier this year. I think I forget which one it was. It was a European challenge of some sort. But all these players have kind of put the effort in, and the meta is healthy enough that the skilled players rise to the top. So it was really validating and enjoyable to watch that the players that put the work in, that had the experience, that had the proven skill, were the ones that won.
Yeah,
Now,
go ahead, Zerosha.
we wouldn't be Hero Power if we didn't talk about a little controversy in this. China ended up just not doing really well. Obviously, the Chinese fan base went to a K-God, Kalento, and kind of put their faith in him. Now, after the tournament was done, we were talking about in our Discord today for our patrons. Or if you want to become a patron and be part of our Discord, go to patreon.com/heropower and join up in the conversation. But there was some controversy where the Chinese players went into this tournament, preparing for this tournament, for a best of 7 instead of a best of 5 like they did in the Bahamas. And while the rules were put on the website for Battle.net back in April, they weren't actually sent any notice of it being a best of 5 until about a week before the tournament. So they had to go from preparing 5 decks to preparing 4, which you think, oh, you just eliminate a deck. But when you're expecting to have to plan around 4 decks of your opponents instead of 3, it really changes it up. You can't just take a deck off. You need to completely wipe the slate and make 4 new decks to plan around that Conquest format. So they are believing that the reason nobody qualified out of Shanghai was because they weren't properly prepared, and it wasn't completely their fault. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
So the article I just found, which was, there was a complaint made by Dog, not the American one, the Chinese player, the Dog with 4 Gs. Yeah, Dog with 4 Gs. He said that they received notification of the tournament format from Blizzard 24 hours before deck lists were due. 24 hours. And the difference between best of 7 versus best of 5 in a tournament format is enormous, because you have to build, you bring decks that are less specific because they have to be wider and more powerful against the field. It's a very different metagame when you can depend on more different varieties of decks being there, and instead the decks were much more focused. Now, I don't know if this is the reason why Chinese performance was poor, but I believe it was a reason. And for it to be so consistently poor from such top players is a little unusual. The top 4 was 3 Europeans and 1 North American. It's hard from such a small sample size. And when your 3 Europeans are Hoy, Kalento, and Nyria, that's also a hard group of people to bet against in any format, no matter what the rules are. But I don't know. This does seem a little unfortunate for the Chinese players, and I don't know why there wasn't consistency across the board of all players from all regions receiving consistent notification.
Well, and from what I've read on it on Reddit and a few other places, is that they were all informed to check the Battle.net website for updated rules. And after the Bahamas, they did update the rules for China when they announced that it was going to be in Shanghai. And the rules specifically state, I read it myself, it's best of 5 conquest format, bring 3, ban 1. Or bring 4, ban 1. And it sounds like the Chinese players were specifically waiting for official notice from Blizzard, and everybody else said they got the same email about the same time. Unfortunately, they had read the rules. Most of them had in the European region, North America, and I guess the Chinese just didn't get that communication or didn't read it. So I think it's fault on both sides. I think the players should be properly prepared and make sure they're spun up on all the rules. Again, I don't know how easily accessible the Battle.net website is from China. I know they have their different sources over there, and they may not have access specifically to the American site. Their site may not have been updated. That I don't know.
Well, and it's hard for me to swallow the argument that if it were reversed, if I was an American player going to the HCT and the only way to find out the tournament format was to read a Chinese site, I would be screwed. And I know that it'd be an unreasonable expectation, so I think it's fair to say it's an unreasonable expectation for a Chinese player to go to the American site. I know Blizzard is a U.S. company, but NetEase is the Chinese partner that should be able to relay that information.
Exactly.
It's hard to justify by saying it was available in another language in a website you would never go to, so why didn't you check there? That would be difficult to justify when instead you could make the assumption that it's the same format as the immediate previous tournament, and when notification was not provided in their language directly.
And I'm guessing my question is did NetEase have this information in April and didn't update their site? Or maybe they did and the Chinese players didn't check out the NetEase site? That I don't know, because I don't have access to the NetEase communications. Obviously, Blizzard only has so much control of what information they can disseminate in China. Most of that is handled by NetEase. Maybe I'm hoping this is just a lesson learned and that NetEase starts getting better communication from Blizzard to their player base.
Yeah. Well, and, Blizzard's just a small indie company. You can't, always expect them to be on top. Okay, I can't even say it with a straight face. Twitch chat kills me. All right. All right, let's see. So that brings us...
DreamHack in Valencia this weekend.
Yes.
So if you're going to DreamHack Atlanta, which is next weekend, pay close attention to the meta out of Valencia that starts July 13th through the 16th, because a lot of your pro players that are on DreamHack Valencia will likely be using that meta or bringing that meta to DreamHack Atlanta because it's so close to each other. Now the question is, are the people in DreamHack Valencia prepared with the nerf hitting today?
No.
So no. I saw a tweet from Sidonia who said he had already submitted his deck lists for Valencia. If he's bringing Quest Rogue, I don't know, but if he is, even Sidonia, it's going to take 5 to get that quest off, bud.
Even if he's not bringing it, but teching his lineup against Quest Rogue, now you're teching against a deck that likely won't have a lot of presence if other people aren't playing it, or if they are playing it, it's going to be easier to beat with your other decks, and you don't need to tech against it.
Yeah. So, all right. So that brings
last topic: Tavern Brawl. Obviously, we're doing this show before a Tavern Brawl
this week. That's right.
So my question is, do you think with the release of Knights of the Frozen Throne, with the reveal of it, that we're going to see a unique Tavern Brawl, or is it about time to start seeing repeat Tavern Brawls because they're focusing on those on the release of the new set?
Well, we're still in Midsummer Fire Festival. I don't know if you can get away with Midsummer Fire Festival than an ice theme set, because it would melt. So
it's true.
So we're going from hot stone to cold stone. So we got to figure out. Right now, I think we're still in hot stone. So it's probably going to be some kind of party or festival themed brawl. I could see a repeat of the Karazhan Portals brawl, but that might be too Kara specific. It'll be something else that's like something else fun and party and celebration related. What did they do the last time it was Wintervale?
Didn't they do Karazhan themes? No, I don't remember.
I don't remember what they did for Wintervale.
Was it party?
Oh, they did the gift exchange. Well, they probably won't do. They won't do the Santa Brawl during the summer, so it's got to be.
They could tier it up so it's their midsummer gifts, and it says snowballs. You're throwing fireballs. I don't know.
Yeah. I expect it to be a repeat. It probably won't be a new one, but I expect it to be a repeat that maybe we haven't seen in a while. I don't think it'll be Randomonium or Web Spinners. Or
well, there was 3 new Tavern Brawls, data mined. I don't know. We may not see any of those right away. It may be a little closer to the expansion before we see any of those. We'll just have
We
to wait
did
and see.
get a patch today, though. So
Yeah.
they might have snuck in.
Sorry, guys, we're not Virsica. We can't predict the future. We can't tell you
Yeah.
what it's going to be this
I
week.
didn't have enough time to data mine anything on my end because literally the patch notes hit like right before we did the show.
Yeah, so Inked in chat asks, any word on when the pre-order will be available through mobile? The pre-order just went live with the patch about 2 hours ago on the regular game client. Usually, when a patch goes live on a game client, it's usually a few hours after when it goes live on mobile.
Well, a few hours on every platform except for iOS, because the iOS you have to go through the iTunes store, and usually you see iOS updates 24 to 48 hours after the actual patch release on other mobile devices.
So there you go. There's you a kind of time frame to look at on when to expect it. So
The time to decorate Stormwind again. Oh, it's up on iOS. Oh wow, they were prepared this time. See me no more in chat. Thanks for the info. It's up in iOS.
okay, cool. All right, so that brings us to this week's deck list, which was sent to us by our good friend RidiculousHat. And I have to say, I loved the name of this deck when he sent it. All Yogs Go to Heaven.
Yeah. That's this is a wicked good special. Any of you that are in pretty much any Hearthstone Discord know him, and he's a host of Disruption, but also was on an episode of The Happy Hearthstone with me talking about the Legend mindset. And he's a very smart guy. He loves dad jokes as much as me, if not more. And he likes control. And it's Wicked Good came up with this entirely, and you can tell some of his hallmarks are in it. It plays 10 drops. He likes 10 drops. And this is kind of a control priest list with the idea of I never want to rely on a 2-card combo. Because you'll notice the Shadow Word Horror in there, the card is just good enough by itself against Living Mana, against Token Shaman. It's really, really powerful. And other than that, every card in this deck is designed to generate value.
Okay, so let me run down the deck list real quick for our audio listeners, and then we'll talk a little more about it. So it's 1 Binding Heal, 2 Northshire Clerics, 2 Potion of Madness, 2 Power Word Shield, 2 Radiant Elementals, 2 Shadow Visions, 2 Shadow Word Pain, 2 Curious Glimmer Root, 2 Shadow Word Death, 2 Priest of the Feast, 1 Shadow Word Horror, Elise the Trailblazer, Harrison Jones, Lyra the Sunshard, 2 second-rate Bruisers, 2 Dragonfire Potions, 1 Free from Amber, Medivh the Guardian, and Yogg Saron Hope's End. So, back to what Hat was saying. Tell us a little more about how the deck plays.
It's basically don't die and then generate value and gain life. And a lot of times, Priest of the Feast, you'll view that as a 6-drop or an 8-drop or a 10-drop, and really just you drop that after Alexstrasza happens. Because this happened today, where right before the show I was getting some reps in to make sure I was ready to play in front of the audience, and he Alexes me, and the next tournament I'm at 22, or 24 rather, because I just go Priest of the Feast, Shadow Word Death, Power Word Shield, heal my face, and then the turn after that, I played a Lyra and a Radiant Elemental, and I was drawing cards so hard that I could not get below 10 cards in hand. And I was at 30 the turn after he Pyroblasted me. So, it's, now at the same time, this deck is not tuned to beat something like Secret Mage, right? It's not tuned to beat kind of a mid-rangey, tempo-y disruptive deck. You're not going to have a lot of wins against Miracle Rogue. It's meant to generate a ton of value and survive against hordes of small threats and the occasional big threat. Against something that puts on a lot of mid-game pressure, against your mid-range Paladin, against your Dragon Priest even, you're going to have a bad time. Because you can't really deal with swarms of big threats. Jade Druid is not a good matchup. So this is a deck also, it was very poor against Quest Rogue, so I'm glad we get to play it in that meta, but being replaced by Jade Druid doesn't help us much.
All right. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited and ready to see this deck in action. I actually went to import this deck and was like, oh, I only have one Curious Glimmer root, and I have, in 3 years, I have yet to open a Harrison Jones. So those are 2 cards I didn't have. Is there a replacement you would recommend, say, if somebody didn't have Harrison Jones?
So Harrison Jones fits in pretty well with the deck. I'm actually surprised that you don't have one, if I'm being honest right now. But Gluttonous Ooze would be a fine replacement if you need to put in Acidic Swamp Ooze. You want the value of destroying an Addy-Ash or an Ashbringer or even a True Silver, but a Gluttonous Ooze will work fine in a pinch. Or an Acidic Swamp Ooze if you're really just about getting the weapon out of the way. They are a slightly more diverse option. They just don't draw you cards, which is what this deck really wants to do.
Right.
But it's not a big enough substitution that you really have to worry about it so much that, like, if you don't have Harrison, don't make the deck. I wouldn't say that.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to this upcoming card pack change. So maybe I can finally pull a Harrison Jones out of Classic instead of the 12 Alex Strawses I've opened.
I do not want to hear you complain about legendaries.
So, all right. So that's going to bring us to our last thoughts. Basically, any last thoughts about anything we've talked about so far tonight? Zeroshio, we'll start with you.
It is live. I just downloaded it. Have fun with this deck. It's going to be a lot of fun for us to play. We are a little short on time tonight, so probably may not get a full best of 3 in. But yeah, just have fun with Hearthstone right now. It's going to get better because the new set will be out in August.
Okay. Hat, anything last words? Tell everybody where they can find you.
Well, first of all, thank you again, guys, for letting me be on Hero Power. I mean, I love the show, and it's a great community. The chemistry you have, it continues to be the best reason to listen to the show. It sounds like a bunch of friends talking, but it sounds like everyone's invited to the conversation. I've always enjoyed that. I apologize to the listeners that I can't predict the future. The one that can is out, probably returning to his home planet this week, but he'll be back with lots more information. But in the meantime, it's maybe he's telepathically influencing my right now, and my predictions will be accurate. But it's really nice to be back on the show with you. So thank you so much. And all of you can find me on Twitter. I'm very active at RidiculousHat. You can find me on Twitch. I'll be on tonight at 11 p.m. at twitch.tv/RidiculousHat. And go into any Hearthstone Discord and type at RidiculousHat, and I'm probably there.
Nice.
Right.
All right. So, guys, that's going to do it for us this week. If you're joining us on Twitch or YouTube, stay tuned. We have the live play portion of our show coming up. If you are listening via our audio podcast, we'd like to thank you for joining us at this time. Remember, you can follow us on Twitter at HeroPower_cast. You can find all of our past episodes on YouTube at youtube.com/ECMMOGamers or on our website at HeroPowerHS.com. If you enjoy the show and you would like to help support and improve it, you can do so by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/HeroPower, where you'll get access to special things like our patron-only Discord server and our quarterly patron Hearthstone tournaments. So go check it out. We will see you all again next week.
And don't forget to use your hero power.
Hey!
Alrighty, gentlemen. While I am getting set up to watch, to spectate Hat here, Zeroshio, tell us a little bit about our friends at Viforce.
Basically, we're going to do this really, really quick because everybody hears us every week about Viforce. They're a great company. They also have a great community. Go over to ViforceGaming.com. You can actually get on their Ventrilo and talk with them about games and about your quote. They have the best prices for the best rigs out there, bar none. I have one myself. It's going to be at DreamHack if you want to check it out. I'll be in row B7 right on the end. You'll see the Hero Power banner there. And just ask me about their machine. I'll tell you all about it. But I also want to say, on a side note, we have recently become affiliates through Twitch. And I really want to thank Psych Mopco for giving us the 500 cheer. Thank you so much.
All right. Hat,
that man is crazy generous. He's just so generous.
It's awesome.
Whenever you're
y'all ready for me?
Yep.
All right.
Let us know when you have a worthy opponent.
Are you ready for this?
I don't know if I am. So I will say, if you are listening or watching right now, I have 7 golden classes and my preset 130 wins, so that tells you how little I play it. It's been a lot of fun learning it, but that's what I'm doing right now, learning. So if you see me make a play, don't assume that it's correct because it's probably not.
Well, that's why we like to talk through our plays here on Hero
Yeah.
Power.
Well then, pick the right cast. So, I have difficulty ever mulliganing Power Word Shield, and I have to keep Pain because of Primal Fin Totem and Mana Tide, which is what I'm going to save that for.
We are
I
playing
don't
the
mind
Shaman.
Potion of Madness. Yeah, I'm expecting Token. Could be Jade, but Pain is good generally because almost all of them run Mana Tide. Power Word Shield are just too good. I've heard the argument that you want to throw it back and look for a minion, but I always want to have it either early, mid, or late game, so I always keep it. And Priest of the Feast is much better mid to late game, and Potion of Madness, they don't play a lot of early stuff to trade, and even if they do, it doesn't deal enough damage to override the hero power, so I want to save it till later. So I'm just going to keep Power Word Shield and Shadow Word Pain.
Okay.
Yeah, Shaman usually has 1/2s.
Drew into the Radiant Elemental and the
Element.
Bruiser. That's good.
Yep. And Bruiser is excellent in this matchup. All right, so he might be Control.
Oh, top deck the
Because-
second Bruiser.
Yeah, well, that turn 2 pass was extremely quick.
Yeah, and with the changes to the patch, you might be seeing people testing out Elemental Shaman.
I wouldn't be surprised. Now, I am going to go Elemental and Shield here just to develop a threat and cycle the card. I don't have a lot going on right now, but it seems like a pretty easy way to start off.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have a good way to kill this outside of Hex or Devolve, and I don't expect to see either of those. Okay,
he is
so
heavy on the hero power. Ooh,
There's
For sure
the first
Token.
Elemental, yep.
and what this means is with the 3 minions, we're going to first play this good old second-rate Bruiser right here.
oh
And we're
yeah.
going to bump into that spell damage to make sure that we don't get Lightning Stormed or Maelstrom Portaled.
I like it.
Do you think Thing from Below may be a thing with him going heavy on the hero power?
Almost certainly. All right, so I
Not
get a 4/4, and I get to still replay the second-rate Bruiser.
Yep.
And I think now is when I'm going to use Potion of Madness because I can kill 2 minions. I
Yep.
want to keep his board from getting too wide. It minimizes Flame Tongue, and I get to trade here. He can Jade Lightning my 4/3 if he wants to, but this sets us up for Northshire Cleric and Heal to be really powerful.
Oh,
He
so
is
the
elemental.
Calamos.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay.
It's like a mid range.
It's definitely some kind of mid-range shaman. So I am going to go Northshire and heal my guy, heal my 4/3 here, just to draw the card. Because
Okay.
it keeps my taunt up and he has to do something else to get past it. I'm going to save the other Northshire because there's no reason to develop both. He has already played a... He's already played a Devolve, so I'm not going to play around the second one, but I'm not going to play into it. I don't need to play that second Cleric yet.
Right.
And as of right now, we have more pressure than he does. Yep.
Fire
So,
Elemental.
his board is going to grow pretty significantly, and I don't have a good way of dealing with that Fire Elemental, and unfortunately, this is kind of rough here, because
Naked Harrison.
he can double trade pretty easily, and I don't have a good answer for that. I could develop the Harrison. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to attack here into the 4/5. I'm going to play the Northshire, and I'm going to heal it first, and then Binding Heal to draw 2 cards.
Okay.
Okay, I like that.
And then I get to Binding Heal and heal it all the way
Ooh.
back up. And Elise is alright. I think I'm going to trade my 4/4 into the 4/1. I know it feels awful, but I want my Northshire Cleric to survive, and that's pretty important.
Yeah.
We do have the Dragonfire Potion now. We have the Elise to develop as well. Okay.
Dragonfire was a big pickup.
Hero Power,
Yeah.
Jade Lightning, so...
So it did clear my board, but I do get to play an Elise here if I want to, and that does threaten his board.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't need to do anything else this turn. I'm not going to kill anything. I have the Dragonfire as backup. He has broken the Elemental chain. He didn't play an Elemental last turn. So I expect... Okay, that's a Flame Tongue. That's a double trade. That's 8 to my face.
Well, hopefully. Ooh.
Into Halazil.
Halazil, you say. But we just got a pack. So that's...
Yeah, we did.
So, the Dragonfire Potion doesn't do a ton here. We are taking, what, it looks like 14 on the board. He's unlikely to kill us. So, the pack, I have to play 3 cards for that to be relevant. And then I have to play 1 out of the pack. So, I would have 5 mana left over. I could play the Priest of the Feast here. So if I go Priest of the Feast, coin
into
Shadow
pack?
Word Pain pack, yeah. So I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to coin first and pack first, because I always want to draw first, and just see what happens.
Thank you, Fred, for reminding us to draw first.
Always.
Sorry.
And then, ooh, we got some good stuff here.
Ooh,
So-
yeah.
Swamp King, yeah.
The Chittering Tunneler is actually not a bad pickup.
I think I'm probably going to run that out now, and I want the spell, right? Oh, that was a mistake, because unfortunately, I have 10 cards in hand now, so that was dumb. I am going to take the second Dragonfire Potion, but we did make a misplay there. We didn't count the cards in hand. But we do have Dread. Yeah, so most likely this Dragonfire Potion will clear the board. We did deal ourselves 6, so he's probably pretty well aware what that is. It's either that or Holy Fire. But the Tunneler is going to be... Okay. Yep, so he's playing around it right now.
Keeping Hollow Zeal around.
But Potion of Madness will solve this, right?
Yep.
So we get to go Potion
That's
of Madness the 2/2. We get to bump in. We get to Dragonfire Potion. And then we get to play Pyros. Which I think is better than Hero Powering here. And next turn we get to go Dread and Earthen Scales, which gains us 10 and limits his board pretty significant. Oh my god.
Alligator.
Oh, wow.
Well, we do have a Shadow Word Pain, right? So this is going to be a fantastic turn, because we're going to go Dread. We're going to gain 10 life.
That's going to be great.
And then we're going to kill Alakir.
Oh my gosh.
That was a pleasant turn. That felt nice.
Oh.
And he's used a Devolve already. He could have a Hex. But he has used Devolve already, and we still gain 10 life. We also have the Lyra in hand.
Volcano.
Okay. Well, that is going to clear the board, but we get a 6/6 back.
Yeah.
And Jade Spirit, I'm not super concerned about right now.
And he got rid of his Volcano before he put Bittertide Hydra out. That's good for us.
Yeah, well, he probably has another one. I think this is a fine turn to just develop Pyros, most likely. Though it's actually, we should probably freeze from Amber, right?
Yeah, I like
That's what
free
I
for
like.
him.
Yeah.
Well, we got a Chompy.
Ooh, yeah.
It's either
Charge.
a Chompy or a 7/9, but I think we got to
And
take
it can
the
go to
Chompy.
face if we want.
Yep, I do.
Because the Battle Cry doesn't limit it when it's summoned.
Yeah. I don't mind a little bit of pressure just to force him into suboptimal plays, and that'll make the rest of our hand more.
Oh, but he's got Burn. He's
He's got a
face.
Volcano. Or no, Hex.
No
Okay.
Hex. Okay.
Okay. So I don't feel a huge need to Dragonfire yet. I'm gonna play the Halazeel here and heal face. We're gonna let him develop and widen the board as much as possible. If he plays a Jade Chieftain, Dragonfire Potion still does a lot. So I want to make sure we don't waste it early. And he's ignoring our minions, so this means that most likely we'll be able to Dragonfire Potion. That's a Calamos. That's what that is.
Ooh.
He's fireballing.
And run in.
So, I want to...
Or we can Dragonfire Potion and run in.
We can Dragonfire trade. Now, it's... What are we dead to here? He doesn't have anything else that can deal 6 damage. Blaze Caller can deal 5.
Right.
I think we need to heal
6.
face.
Well, it's... I like healing face, but I don't... So, he'd have to have double Blaze Caller, right? Because he doesn't have anything else that deals damage. He's used both Jade Lightning. Could have Jade Claws. If we heal face, we have to go Dragonfire Potion, trade, heal face, and then play the Radiant Elemental, which isn't the worst.
Yeah,
Bittertide Hydra
like
is a dead card at this point. The other options, we do that and Shadow or Death and go face, but we're not really in a position to put pressure on. And we get the 10/10 this way.
Yeah, he's only got
So
3 cards in hand. So.
Yeah. So let's trade, and then this way we can heal face and potentially develop the 10/10 next turn. We did play the Dragonfire Potion from the right, so he doesn't know about the one we have in the left of our hand.
Exactly. And we are spitting through this pretty quick because we're a little short on time.
Yeah. Well, also I talk fast.
Yeah, before our chat, if say we miss anything, we might miss a couple things here or there because we are trying to get our games in.
So
he's dropping minions.
So he's played a lot of minions. We don't have a good answer other than Dragonfire Potion here. But if I go Dragonfire Bittertide, well, that makes like a Maelstrom Portal pretty good against me, right? We're at a low life total, but I could develop Harrison, which is probably the answer, because he doesn't have a weapon in hand, right? So let's do this and then just develop Harrison, just to get something on the board. He's used both Jade Lightnings to remove it. I think he'd have to, Hex or Devolve. If he plays anything big, we have Double Death and a Lyra.
And we're pretty low on cards in our deck.
We've got,
we
it's
want
9
Lyra
versus
to give us
12.
value.
So I'm going to play a 10-10, and I'm going to attack this thing just because of Bloodlust or anything else. If we attack face there, we do put him in a chance of 2-turning. But we've got this Shadow Word Horror, which I'm probably going to use.
I wonder what those 3 cards are if he's... Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Not using them at all.
I don't know. I'm probably going to run out the Hydra here now. But we lose if he has a bunch of AoE in hand. We really don't want to run that risk. Right. So how about we just attack and we go face and we heal our face?
I mean, we can Lyra Shadow Word
Horror, yeah.
Well, we can't now.
I want to heal our face.
That makes sense.
I'd rather do that. And this way, if he has wide removal, he has to use it this way. Horror clears out any totems.
There's a Maelstrom portal.
Well, and Shadow Word Horror clears his board.
Yeah.
So now we get to go Lyra and Horror.
Phew.
And we kill his board, and yeah.
I think that is clearly a Bloodlust in his hand.
Well, well, we don't know if he plays Bloodlust. I expect Lightning Storm.
I think that far left was his Bloodlust because he was trying to get totems down and keep them on the board. I think it was good clearing them.
Well, and Shaman generally leans on totems pretty hard. I think you pretty much have to with if you don't, you play into AoE so quickly, but because people will AoE you if you have 2 totems and a Firefly, then that means that you're going to... You can effectively generate cards by hero powering. It's one of the main ways the card kind of has longevity, because the Shaman thing you notice a lot when you're playing against mid-range is at the end, is after you use AoE, they still have 5 or 6 cards in hand. That's if they're good and they're leaning on their hero power. If they're using their cards quickly, they'll run out in their hand, and there's not a lot going on.
Exactly. We want to spit one more out?
Yeah. And Wicked Good raised a good point as well in chat that if we had played Bitter Tide, we get Volcanoed and we die immediately.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
But that pack was nuts.
That pack was crazy. Yeah, that was awesome. And for those of you who are joining us that maybe not watch us regularly, during this portion of the show, we usually try to do a best 2 out of 3, just to see how the deck does. So.
Well, that just means I have to win this one, and then we're fine.
There you go.
Yeah.
See?
There you go.
So
yeah.
We're
against a mage this time. Yep.
I really like Priest of the Feast late game, but I don't like it mid game because it just gets fireballed. Probably going to mulligan this entire hand. I'm going to look for Shadow Word Pain. If it's a slower mage, we want some slower cards. If it's a faster mage, we don't want those cards anyways. Radiant Elemental is a decent early pickup.
Getting that early Elise. Yeah.
Oh, Curious Glimmerroot's good. That helps us on our curve.
Curious Glimmerroot is great if you see a Primordial Glyph.
Yeah. Well, and Glimmerroot is just, it does something on turn 3 and it draws you a card. It's similar to Mimic Pod in a lot of ways, in that it's a card plus a little bit of value. And I just like doing things early. Oh my. Okay. So this is a little bit more aggressive.
Okay. I was worried it was double Mana Worm.
So, yeah, I was concerned about the 2. Do we Visions here? I think this is a Visions turn.
I think so.
Because Radiant Elemental just dies to the board. I don't have a way to deal 1 damage. I don't have a Potion of Madness.
Are we looking for Pain, though?
I think Pain. And so my options here are Heal, Pain, and Shield.
The problem with Pain is it's probably not going to hit the Mana Worm next turn.
Well, he only has 2 mana next turn. He's used the coin already. He'd have to play 2 1-mana spells, which seems unlikely.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
It'd have to be 2 1-mana spells, and I don't think they even play 2 1-mana spells. So
yeah, but he did get the book. So
well, it's true. You'd have to get Missiles and Mirror Image or something. I think what we can do here instead is Radiant Elemental Shadow Word Pain next turn.
I like that.
But it depends on what comes. So we don't need to play the Elemental. What it does here is it makes his turn less efficient. Well, he just has to trade in the 1/1, right? Because he has the book, it's actually really inconvenient for us. I think I'm going to save the Elemental for the Priest of the Feast we just drew.
Okay.
And then next turn we can develop the Glimmerroot. We're a little bit off curve. But I like saving the Feast for later. And this turn is probably going to be, if he develops a Secret, it's almost certainly Counterspell. Would be surprised if it wasn't. The early Secret development, sometimes it's Ice Block, but if it's a turn 1 Worm and Book into a turn 2 Arcanologist, tells me he's looking to be a little bit faster. So if he plays the Secret, I expect a Counterspell.
Perhaps.
Yeah. He's thinking
probably
about
expect a Secret here. I'm wondering what Secret he got if he's not snapping it out.
Let's see. That's a secret. That was the one he got off Arcanologist.
Yep, it sure
So,
was.
So we can bait the. So let's see what happens here. So the Glimmer Root shows us. Well, we know it's Mana Worm because
Gotta
we
be
saw it
Mana
already.
because he played it.
Yeah. It's not Mirror Entity. And I think I am going to play the Worm because I have an extra mana here, and it baits him to deal with it. Might eat a Valet, or it might get double traded with, but that still gains us some life, and I want to save the Binding Heal for Priest of the Feast. I do expect it to be Counterspell because he played it early, so I expect Feast into Heal to lose us the 5 life. So I want to wait until I have something else, if I can. But it'll be a good way to pop Counterspell if we have spare mana and we don't need the life. Next turn will probably be Elise, though.
I like Elise next turn.
Yeah.
We will have to deal with the secret. At least test for Counterspell before we get the pack.
Yeah. Well, we've tested for Mirror Entity, so we know it was in the deck. It's secrets these days are generally Ice Block or Counterspell. There's a small chance of Barrier. There's a small chance of what's the other one? Spellbender, but it's most likely block or spell.
I have an update.
Biggest thing.
I have an update to a story we talked about earlier. DreamHack just tweeted out a little while ago that due to the additional changes in the patch, deck submissions for Valencia are pushed until midnight Tuesday. So there's a 24-hour deck extension.
I just top decked the second rate Bruiser, which is a fantastic draw here, so we played that instead of Elise. Just to stem the bleeding. He has to double trade and ping or fireball it.
Yeah,
and
worst
we also
case
got
Elise
to heal.
burn.
Well, we got to heal our face for 2.
Wicked Good in chat said Priest of the Feast plus Binding Heal equals build your own heal bot.
Yeah.
It's true.
I wouldn't be surprised this upcoming turn we go Elise and Binding Heal, and just to clear way for the Dragonfire Potion.
Yeah, because I would like to test for the Counterspell before we use Dragonfire Potion, because we're probably going to need to use it.
Agreed. Well, it depends what happens this turn. If we don't get Fireballed, which if we are, it's going to be off the Primordial Glyph. Okay, well, that's a Frostbolt.
The question is, do they run Crystal Runner? That's really the concern.
Yeah, well, it depends if we're playing against a Burn Mage or a Secret Mage. Our opponent is low on cards, so we're actually not under as much pressure as it seems. We're taking 4 a turn. If we heal face, we're taking 2 a turn. So let's do... Alright, so we just drew a Power Word Shield. So let's Elise and Shield. And so while we may not draw the card, the health is effectively drawing cards against Mage a lot of the time.
Exactly.
It's an Ice Block. That secret is almost certainly an Ice Block.
It could be a barrier, but either way, we're fine.
Yeah, it's a defensive secret, so we're in good shape, because that means that we'll be able to... Well, we have a 5/7 now, which is also great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And yeah, Wicked Good raises another good point that if they were aggressive Secret Mage, we would have seen a Kirin Tor by now, most likely.
That does make a good point. I do know there's a lot of hybrids running, but Kirin Tor definitely would be an early push.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, it's a lot of the mages run the same 20 cards and then the difference the last 10, but so far we haven't seen much evidence of a lot of aggressive pressure.
Yeah, I think this is burn.
Eater of Secrets, okay.
Oh, if it's Eater of Secrets, it's usually that's teched in the burn.
So this seems like,
the other mages.
What do you guys think of Dragonfire Potion Binding Heal here?
Binding Heal on the Elise or on our face?
Dragonfire Potion.
Oh yeah, it
does both.
On Elise, yeah.
Does both.
Yeah.
So it does
that.
make the Lyra we just drew worse, but it keeps Elise alive, would contest the board, clears out 4 minions. We do know our opponent just drew another secret if he plays it, and we attack and it's not barrier, we should assume Counterspell. So, a little unfortunate with our hand being 3 spell-dependent minions. Our Yogg count is up to 5, and we do have a Yogg in this deck because, why not?
If he floats 3 mana and doesn't put out a secret, it's probably safe to say it's the second Ice Block, right?
Yeah. Yep, that's what I would assume at this point. So, I am going to, once again, attempt to keep the life total high. I'm going to play this Priest of the Feast from the right of our hand, concealing the one on the left. We are going to trade into the Ooze and heal face.
Okay.
I want to keep the life total high enough they need to Alex us, and then I want to be able to heal more afterwards.
Gotcha.
And controlling the board prevents that 3/3 from just generating free damage. He's used 2 valets now.
If he wants to Alex, he has to clear the Priest of the Feast now.
Yep.
So it means he's going to use some of the burn he would use after Alex.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
and
we-
turn 8 is kind of awkward. Oh,
Yeah, there's his Medivh.
Harrison off the top.
so
Oh,
no spells in hand. This is kind of rough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause if I double trade, I could double trade, but then he still has an active Adiesh. Going face isn't super appealing. I think what I'm probably going to do is trade with the Priest of the Feast, go face with the 5/4, and now we're really open to Flame Strike, but I'm also really open to dying from burn. So I am going to heal my own face, I think, and then hope he doesn't have Flame Strike. Firelands Portal's a nightmare here too, though. We
Yeah.
might be just going for a 5-spell Yogg next turn, which feels pretty awful, but we didn't have the answer to Medivh here.
If he Alex is here, we have to go for a 5-spell Yogg, right?
Well, yeah. If he Alex is here, then we're pretty unhappy. Unless I draw top deck Harrison. But
It is interesting.
I wonder if I misplayed by playing the Binding Heal and the Shield early.
There's the Firelands Portal.
Double.
All right.
Ooh.
Well,
Into a
this,
Cho'Gall. Wow.
this is an
We'll see if he
unpleasant
has
card for it.
minions in his hand at least.
And face is probably the place. All right. So we do have. What can we do here?
I mean, we can
Lyra, Shadow Word
Radiant.
Death, or go for that 5.
So here's the problem, right? We're under the pressure he has. He's got 15 points of damage, plus the attack, plus the hero power. That's 17, not counting 3 cards in hand. One of which we should probably assume is Pyroblast. If we go Priest of the Feast, Death, Heal, that puts us at 17. We take 11, 12, 13. We're dead to any burn spell that's not Frostbolt. We're dead to
We
Fireball.
can trade
we're dead
into the
to Portal.
4/4 though.
Could trade into the 4/4, and then we're dead to what? That's 7, 8, 9, and we'd be at 17.
Yeah.
So we'd be dead to. We wouldn't be dead. Just how do we win from there? I'm gonna go for the Yogg, because I think that it's probably a losing play the other
We
way.
didn't want to attack first, just in case.
I,
Oh, there's Flame Strike.
I don't like to attack first, honestly. It
Okay.
depends. Ooh, misdirection. Ooh, free
that's
command.
where- that
Well,
could be
I
good.
want to
Ooh.
point out that she's still alive, so that's a plus.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's and the spell up right now
Wow.
with a secret is misdirection. So praise Yogg. Yogg's a winner. And
Oh, go to their face.
Where are we going?
7 damage to their face. Please.
Oh,
Yes! I
Oh!
called it.
and it dealt 1 damage to it because of the Adiesh.
Adiesh on their turn.
And then we died a double
Double
fireball.
fireball.
Okay.
Oh.
That is a fun
Yeah,
one.
no minions in hand. So that was an epic finish, not a win, but an epic finish nonetheless.
Yes, yes, it was.
So it's
So-
unfortunately, and my client crashed. I guess that means it's time to go for me.
Yeah, that's
But yeah, I don't necessarily know how to play this deck, but we only drew 2 spells, and the spell count is still pretty high, along with Shadow Visions in the deck. We did test for Counterspell twice, and I wonder if we could have waited a little bit longer and waited for more secrets to develop, in that we tested pretty early.
Yeah.
So it might have been correct to hold those spells for longer. We weren't under a ton of pressure. Because if we had been able to Lyra with the Radiant and use the Power Word Shield and the Binding Heal, a chance of getting a Shadow Word Death and not taking 7 from Medivh were much higher, and that means we wouldn't have been in great shape, we would have been in better shape.
Yeah. So we went 1-1. It's a hell of a fun deck. So go out and
Yeah.
play it. I will actually have the deck code in our show notes on our website first thing in the morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. But guys, I want to thank everybody in chat for joining us tonight. It was a lot of fun. Ridiculous Hat, thank you again for stepping in and filling that spot for Virsica. We love having you on the show. It's always fun. Everybody else, if you have any questions or comments about the show, please email us at heropowerpodcast@gmail.com. If you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button below on YouTube or give us a follow on Twitch to be alerted when we go live. And for more details on our Patreon, you can check that out at patreon.com/heropower. Until next week,
Subscribe.
good gaming.
Yeah. Don't forget to use your hero power.